Hi, writers. You are in the process of writing your rhetorical analysis essay and hopefully starting to draft that to submit it next week. And once you have completed the rhetorical analysis essay, you will be done with your essay writing. The last piece of writing that you do in this class will be a paragraph, and it will be a more descriptive paragraph. And so in those, we start to focus a little bit more on word selection and sentences. And part of that involves diction. And diction is a fancy way of saying the words that you choose to write. And I've noted that some of you have repeatedly commented in journal responses or reflections that one of the things you'd like to keep working on is your word choice and your vocabulary. And one of the ways that you can do that is to read more and to maybe subscribe to apps like Word a Day, pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone with the common words that we use is a good way to flex some of those diction muscles. And one of the things that I'm going to have you start doing is some small exercises on just word choice and selection. So one area that we add bloat to our sentences is by using phrases like there is, there are, there was, and there were. And these are two sentences that are very effective in speaking, but when you pepper them too much through your writing, they lose their effect and they just inflate or bloat your sentences. So I'm going to have you do this week an exercise on getting rid of the there is, there are, there was, there were constructions of your sentences and to be a little bit more straightforward in them. So this example at the top is there is a red house on my street. That'd be something that we would easily say to somebody in conversation. We know what that means. It's straightforward. But in writing, it is a little bit bloated. So to make it a little bit more condensed and concise, you might say a red house is on my street. You get rid of the there is construction. But something that's a little bit more descriptive is a red house stands on my street, or a red house looms on my street would indicate that it's a big house. So picking those strong verbs instead of the smaller helping verbs like is, are, was, were can give your writing a little bit more color. The other thing that I would like you to start thinking about and looking for is the places in your writing where you use words that don't really give us a lot of detail or description. So going through your writing and look for words like things and stuff and very and always and never. Those words we, again, use a lot in conversation. We might use them to emphasize something in a story or to relay that I'm so tired this morning or I had a very, very, very long night. But in writing, it loses its effect. And if you do it too much, your audience starts to not trust you as much because, like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's very, 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 very long. So, trying to find words that are more descriptive and more concrete. Now, the word concrete simply means that I can touch it, feel it, see it, smell it. Whereas the word abstract means that it's an idea or an emotion. And in your writing, you want to try to focus more on concrete words. There's a writing instructor that I follow named John McGuire who talks about the drop it on the foot test. Can you drop the thing on your foot? If you can, it is a concrete word, so it's more specific. You can discern it with your senses, touch, taste, sight, smell, sound. Whereas abstract words like patriotism, love, jealousy, denial, hate are things that we can't touch. They are concepts. And the thing about that in writing is that we all have somewhat different ideas of what those abstract concepts mean, so that when you use them, you can't assume that your reader knows exactly what you're talking about. Whereas if I talk about a coffee cup, we all get a pretty good idea of what that is in our minds. So as we move from rhetorical analysis and into the final stage of writing, Erin and I will be asking you to do a little bit more specific work on word choice or diction. And so starting to look through your writing and looking for those fluffy phrases that don't add a lot, like the it, there is, was, were, and then to search for words that are more concrete and more specific. And I'll be adding a few more exercises in those final weeks and talking a little bit more about diction, tone, and style as we get closer to that. So for this project or this assignment, I'm asking you to take a look at a couple of phrases that are constructed with the there is, are, was, and were, and to try to rewrite them to get rid of those phrases, to be more straightforward and to find more specific, harder hitting, interesting verbs to write the sentences with. Some of these are a little harder than others, but I think it's a good exercise to expand that vocabulary and think a little bit differently about how to construct your sentences. Have fun with it. Thanks.